I feel as if we are actually at some Caribbean resort. That's what it feels like to me. That we are just sitting here and I'm just waiting for service. And I got to tell you, that part they got to work on. But maybe by just saying that, I'm not going to get served. And you know what? I shouldn't be served, really. The reality is, this is not about serving. This is about flora and fauna. Good Friday, my friends. Welcome aboard to episode 3 of Here and There with me, Anwar Knight. I'm your host. I'm so glad you could join us today. I appreciate your valuable time that you're connecting with me here on a Friday. This is, in fact, one of the most unique greenhouses in all of Canada. And you know where it is? It's at the Toronto Zoo. Yes! Isn't that something? They have the largest tropical collection in Canada. There's over 600 different varieties of tropical plants here. And man, they just do a bang-up job. And I don't think a lot of people, yes, at times it's open for tours. Of course, now with COVID right now, things are a little wonky. Hence, that's why we're wearing masks, by the way. COVID protocol, we're in an indoor environment, so we're wearing our mask. But yes, it's open to tours at times. But I don't think a lot of people know that this place exists. So we're going to give you a live stream tour here today. On Friday, March the 12th, and it's not just any day. You know what today is? Today is officially National Plant a Flower Day. See the connection? Now we're in a greenhouse. We're not going to plant anything. But the idea behind this is, of course, we're celebrating spring. It's around the corner, and that's a week tomorrow. So it got me thinking, my friends. Another AKQ, the Anwar Knight Query. And the question for you today is, what are you looking forward to in spring? What's the one thing you're like, I can't wait to do? And maybe it is gardening. I can't wait to get into my garden. In fact, I think I'm going to build another vegetable garden. But I'm almost embarrassed to tell you what the thing that I can't wait to do more than anything else. It's cutting my lawn. I know, cutting my lawn. Right now, everything is wet and mucky. I got the golden retriever going in and out as if we live on a swamp. It's dirt and grass pits, so I'm waiting for the warm sunshine. I'm waiting for things to dry up. I'm waiting for the green to kick in, and I want to cut my lawn. I can't wait. The smell of fresh cut lawn. So that would be the answer for me. The one thing I'm looking forward to with the spring's arrival. What's your favorite thing? What are you looking forward to this spring? That's the AKQ, the Anwar Knight Query. We'll connect with you in mere moments. But I just want to sort of give you the layout here. There are 3 different greenhouses. So Phil, if you wouldn't mind just for a sec, just give a little perspective. I mean, there's so many different rooms, and you actually, in essence, you could tour the world here, really, because everything is broken down into the regions, and that's the beauty about it all. You could travel to different parts of the world. There's the Americas. So everything is divided up. And the key on the success of the plants, of course, is the greenhouse itself. A greenhouse, the basic premise are 3 things that it gives you. I feel like a little schoolboy in this chair, by the way, a little sinking. I said I should bring something that's more regal, and this didn't work. My wife says, just put this in the car. But anyway, you have, of course, the light from the sun, you have temperature, and then you have moisture. So those are the 3 things that really facilitate wonderful growing environment for plants, and this is no exception. So it's like 86 degrees in here, 30 Celsius, and a humidity of 74%. So that moisture is what tropical plants love. So this is a completely controlled environment, and as a result, you can see that it's really lush. And it's amazing to see some of those species. In fact, you know what I think we should do? We should go for a little mini tour, and I begged. I said, listen, do you think we could get them? And boy, did we get him. Dolph de Jong is joining us. He's the CEO. And look, he's got the short sleeve. You see? They didn't send me the memo. Little elbow shake up there. So you know what this environment is like. And I know that you have a team that grow here year-round. But let me just ask you as we start off, how much would you say is this for habitat and how much would this be for food? Because some of this actually does feed your animals.
Yeah, this is so important to what we do, Anwar. Yes, we grow plants to make the place beautiful. We all have our home gardens. We know how it adds to the quality of our indoor environments.
Right.
But about 1/3 of what we grow in these greenhouses gets fed directly to our animals.
Isn't that something?
And when you think about animal health, right?
Yeah.
They're living in the natural world with hundreds or even thousands of plants in some of those biodiverse regions. And there's plants that they love to eat, that are good to them, that are critical for their nutrition.
Yeah.
There's other plants that are a little scary that we want to make sure they never cross paths with. And then at our zoo, we have plants from around the world and animals from around the world all coming together.
Right.
So, you talk about those 3 things in the greenhouse. The fourth, the amazing team that looks after it all and connects those plants, those animals, and those beautiful environments that our guests see.
Well, I mean, you can just see how everything is so lush, so that's the beauty. Let's just step back for a moment here. I want to show some of the colors that are here. So there's so many different ones. I mean, we could be here for 8 weeks if we were to, in fact, show you each and every plant, but we don't have time for that. But we're going to highlight a few. We mentioned that some of the plants here are, in fact, rare. In fact, I was surprised to learn, actually, critically endangered, and that's this one in here. So talk to me about this. I can't even really say it. I'm going to take a stab, though. Dracaena umbriculifera. I became Italian all of a sudden, but am I close?
Yeah, you got good inflection there. And the Dracaena, these are incredible plants from Madagascar, and we have one of them actually growing in our Africa pavilion as well by our soft-shell turtle. It's far larger, 6, 7+ feet.
Right.
And just an example of what people see, and one of the things we talk a lot about is people being plant blind. They just see green things, and they go, oh, a narrow leaf, a thick leaf, a big stalk, a woody stalk.
Right.
We want to connect people to the fact that plants like this Dracaena here are actually on the IUCN Red List, which is a global list that's looking at-risk species. And these plant species are underpinning a lot of these ecosystems.
It's interesting because I was fascinated to learn. They originated, they believe, in the island of Mauritius, and that for a time they thought they were extinct. And now they were rediscovered, and you have a number of these plants. And, from afar, I mean, it almost looks like just like a fern. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing really, dramatic about it, but the fact that it is critically endangered.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would say, what is the difference between this IUCN red-listed plant and this plant, which many of us see in our grocery store?
Sure, yes.
Right? So a lot of folks building that literacy to go, yes, green is not just green.
Right.
And by protecting biodiversity in these plants, we help take those next steps for invertebrates, for animals, and ultimately health ecosystems for us, which is what we need.
And that's absolutely that nice eco balance. That's what everybody needs. So there's a number of other plants. I don't want to put you in a corner here, but if you see one like this one here, you were mentioning earlier before we started the show, this is the pitcher plant, and this is really fascinating.
Yeah, this literally in our frame here, we almost have 2 of my favorite plants at our zoo. The pitcher plant, and when we think of leaves, we think of plants, usually there's that regular leaf shape we see, but in this case, look at the extension, and we have this bloom at the end, and in here is actually a liquid, and it smells, and it's just delicious smelling to insects. And those insects crawl in, they fall in the top, they drown in there, and then this plant literally metabolizes them. It gets its energy by being a predator. Now, people think of plants as this passive, passive organism, but no. This pitcher plant is it's a carnivore.
That's right.
And it's amazing because it's found all over the world. We literally have pitcher plants, not quite this big, but in Ontario.
Yeah, it's funny because I was doing some reading on that. So you're right. We have species here. This is obviously a tropical variety, but in Newfoundland, the pitcher plant's actually their provincial symbol, which is interesting. And I don't think that one eats meat, per se, but maybe there's something you're not telling us in Newfoundland. But I don't know, Phil, would you mind trying to see inside here? So this is what you were talking about. So, the nectar's at the bottom, the species is drawn into it, and they won't be able to get out once they go in. It's almost like a one-way trip. And then all that, I want to say it's almost like acid at the bottom, but that starts breaking down the insect.
Yeah, and literally it's the kind of thing that if you were to empty this and pour it on your skin, you'd likely experience some irritation, as it is that mild acid that's breaking those organisms down to turn it into that energy.
See, this is the beauty of nature, just the way nature has adapted for survival. You would never think about something like that. And it's sitting on this one here. Now, I don't smell anything bad yet. But we could again.
You could again. So people might have remembered Pepe Le Pew. We had our corpse flower blooming, 2 of them, in fact.
Right.
Actually, we had a third. We had a smaller one a few weeks ago.
Right.
But this is actually kind of the flowering stalk. I'd almost describe it like the tulip part that you see. And at the bottom in this pot is this massive corm, a big bulb, and it's building up that energy. And then sometimes they don't bloom for literally a century. They produce these stinky, large, phallic-looking shaped flowers that are only out for 24 to 48 hours,
Right.
and then they break down.
Because I think the last time was August. Was it August that you guys had one that bloomed?
Yes.
So this is the corpse flower. So this is the one that smells like decaying meat, again, to attract insects, flesh flies. And you're saying this is the leaf. So look at the height of this, and those are leaflets. Leaflets? Leaflets. But look at the height of this. Really amazing. And did you smell it? Because I wasn't here when it was a corpse flower officially.
I did smell it, and I made the mistake of at first going, it doesn't seem that bad, and I got a little closer, and I was worried I was going to do damage to the corpse flower, because it really did
It is that
turn
bad.
my stomach. It is the worst hockey bag, dead animal combination you can imagine. And people celebrate that version, the flower.
Yeah.
You know, this is also a corpse flower. This is a little one here, and
Sure.
we literally have hundreds of different individuals now that we're growing. And think about that reproductive strategy.
Yeah.
I'm going to come into bloom
Yeah.
for a couple days every few decades
Sure.
or up to 100 years.
Sure.
Like, that's a high-risk move.
No kidding.
So they need to make sure they attract those insects. They can't be wrong. They've got to get it right.
And let me ask you, because some of these are literally from different parts of the world, where do you guys get this from? Are there specific growers?
Yeah, so, you know, one of the amazing things is we work with this horticultural staff. They live, they bleed plants, literally. So they know contacts from all over North America and beyond. So often they work with growing partners, greenhouses. They do slips, they cut and plant these seeds. They grow them from seed. So there's a long list of ways they acquire the plants, and it really depends what type of plant.
Yeah.
As we mentioned at the beginning, some of these plants are endangered species.
Sure.
So there's actually a lot of permitting involved to bring certain ones into the country and move them around, as we want to make sure we're really protecting those species and making sure there's not an illegal trade in them either, to make sure those limited numbers are protected.
You know, I don't want to put pressure on the horticultural team here, but you don't want the critically endangered one to die on your watch. I mean, how do you go on and say, yeah, you know that rare plant, there's only 12 left on the planet? Yeah, I forgot to water it.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
Yeah, no, you definitely, and that's the thing about being a team, right?
Yes.
We need to be in a scenario where, you know, Amber and Jesse can't go on vacation and everybody's like, what? So, you know, that balance of making sure we have those great protocols and have that team that knows what to look for. And the thing with plants, you know, how does a plant communicate to you that it's not doing well?
Right.
Okay, this is an endangered species. Maybe you've only seen a
That's
few
right.
of them in your entire
not a
working
begonia.
career. Right. So that's where the folks coming together, having those conversations, looking for signs of stress. It might be really subtle, you know, looking for discoloration on the leaf edges, you know, making sure we're doing the right things as far as soil enrichment year over year. Just because your plant's doing well doesn't mean it'll keep doing well.
Right.
You may need to make other changes.
Sure.
And the seasonality of it all. Yes, we're in a greenhouse with some pretty stable conditions.
Right, controlled, but
But here we are in Canada, and it's really dark in the winter for parts of the year.
that's right.
Do we need to have added light? Do we need to make sure they have the right facing or orientation to get the limited amount of light we do have? So our team is absolutely phenomenal, and you'd get dizzy watching the plants move around in this place as they shuffle them around to keep them all where they need to be.
Well, and you know, the testament is the colors that we're seeing here. I mean, everything is truly lush. It really is quite amazing. And again, I don't think the average zoo goer, some may have come here, they've toured here, but don't understand what goes on here. So we're glad to share that here live. If you're just joining us, thank you for doing so. This is a show I call Here and There. I'm Anwar Knight, your host, and we stream live every Friday on my Facebook page and then replay it on YouTube. This is interesting. I recognize these leaves very easily. So these are banana trees.
Yes.
And they are actually growing. I was floored. There's little pink bananas down here.
Yeah, and bananas, you know, you see here a variety of plants of different sizes, and this is one of the key food items. A lot of our animals really enjoy eating these great big succulent leaves. And, you know, again, we're in Canada.
Yeah.
So our ability to collect browse, which is vegetation that we feed our animals, it pretty much disappears in the winter if we didn't have these greenhouses. So our team is growing this browse, rotating it through exhibits, providing it to animals, and making sure we're giving them essentially that really comprehensive diet that mimics what they would have in a wild setting.
So when you say browse, and we've seen many animals, the gorillas, for instance, that are eating, so would they just, your team would be just cutting it? Because I know I've done some other previous stories where sometimes they're making almost like a fruit salad, if you will. They'll literally just cut it and then they give it off to the animals?
You know what? Literally, they will cut it. In some cases, they will do some minor trimming and just pull a few leaves. But in some cases, you know, they kind of say with the plants, treat them mean, keep them keen. They'll literally just chop them at the base.
Start it again.
Start it again, and you can provide that whole stalk leaf all of it to say one of the animals in our care.
And again, you're trying to mimic what would be in their natural environment the best you can, while also giving them the most nutritious food.
Yeah.
But look at the height on some of these. This is really quite something. Look at these, hibiscus. Now, I've seen the odd time even reptiles at some of your exhibits. Again, this is just a food source that you guys can utilize.
Yeah, and our team, as far as managing the plants in our care, perhaps this individual was in with one of our reptiles. And that means it's only ever going to go back to that reptile in that habitat.
I see.
So being really mindful that we're not mixing things up, that if there was any risk of spreading a zoonotic disease or some other
Sure.
condition, they're incredibly deliberate about what goes where and when.
No cross-contamination whatsoever. And again, that's about the team. So on one hand, as an average person just seeing this, I'm looking at all the beauty, but there's a purpose here, and it has to be strictly controlled.
It has to be strictly controlled because, as much as it would be just like we'll just throw a hibiscus in with species X, we have to be deliberate about it. And then, of course, we want to have that plant available for the other animals to feed on. But then our team needs to pull it out at the right time. We don't actually want to kill this plant. We want to bring it back, get it back to the greenhouse so we can treat it really nice, bring it back to its former glory so we can reintroduce it.
Do you find that the team has to do a lot of replacement? Like, do you guys propagate on site? Where you try, and forgive my ignorance, but like from cuttings, do you try to start it from smaller plant and seedlings?
Yeah, if we were actually just to cut across to the side, we could actually go to our potting room, and our team will start lots of these plants, get them rolling, and essentially have a supply that goes through the year. Yes, bridging the winter, but you can't just stop caring for them in the summer. You've got to bridge them through, and both the number and the variety of species mean the team have a full work plan. Staying on top of that.
So this is, there's a nice sign there too, browse. And this looks like something gorillas would love to eat. And again, look how tall some of these are here. I mean, this is really quite something.
This is the Apromomen.
Okay.
And this is a favorite, again, by a lot of our animals. I believe gorillas really like this. And it's really interesting. Actually, if you take a look at the roots, if we come down, these are the kind of roots that will spread really quickly, and when damaged or disturbed, they will send up other sprouts. They love being root bound. You can literally see how the roots are spinning through this pot. And that means our team has to be really deliberate in their care. So we often need to do some work, and we add nitrogen and fertilizer to make sure we're keeping this healthy, and we get this nice green growth. And then, of course, you'd be able to just snip that off and bring that out to some of the animals.
Is there a way to do insect control, though? Do you fall victim just like somebody planting a garden where you would have insects? I'm assuming you can't really use chemicals in here.
No, and that's the key thing. If you're going to feed these plants to animals, we're looking at an IPM strategy, an integrated pest management strategy. So sometimes it's just a wonderful coincidence. Our pitcher plant provides us some IPM capabilities, but you'll often see some other traps evolve. They often can be just kind of a flat adhesive type piece for flies, and I'm looking for other ones that often are wet traps. And the other thing you'll notice is how we divide up plants. We want to have some space. We want to move them around, and we want to make sure if there are pests in here, they have to do a bit of work to get between things. So measuring density so it can't just literally spread across the entire greenhouse.
Isn't that something? I mean, just to look at all the different, colors and sizes, and all of them very lush. We had one comment that said that they didn't know this was open for tourists. I mean, obviously right now things are a little different. So this part of this would be accessible to the public.
Yeah, so for our zoo guests and members, we made this change about a year and a half ago, and our exhibits team and our horticulture team have just been incredible about shaping these things so we can tell a story about what we're growing here, and again, connect people to if we want to have a healthy environment, we need healthy ecosystems with healthy plants in it. So this is such a key part of that narrative.
And it shows the connection. So we're going to head out here because another part of the greenhouse, which is, by the way, very close to the Wildlife Health Center, which is we should do another episode there. But, the sustainability aspect, of course, you guys hold that close to your heart. And this is another example because this is a relatively new thing. There's not much to see except this little square box, but you have a filtration system here.
Yeah, this is one of those pieces that most folks who visited the zoo probably have walked by, have never even broken stride. And we're literally storing tens of thousands of liters of water that we capture from the roofs of the greenhouse and from the area.
And the snow, the melt, everything.
Yeah, and what that allows us to do is have kind of non-potable water. When you think about the water you get out of your tap, tap.
Yeah.
It's great for us. It's healthy. It's chlorinated.
Right.
Those aren't necessarily the things we're looking for healthy plants. We want water. We actually don't mind that there's a bit of bacteria in it for feeding them. We like that bacteria in our
Right.
soils. So we actually store it here. If you open that up, you'd be able to see
Isn't
water.
that something?
It's nice and full at this time of year.
Yeah.
Later on in the summer, it might not be as full.
Sure.
But it's also just a water conservation story. We
Absolutely.
take for granted clean water, and you don't have to look far to arid climates
Yeah.
who really view water as an asset in a different way than we tend to in North America.
So that's another thing. You're collecting the snow melt, the rainwater, and this whole system then is pumping up and feeding the greenhouse plants, which is amazing. And you mentioned about you use some of those plants, of course, to feed the animals. There's 5,000 animals here, over 3,000 pounds of food a day, and over 400 different diet plans, because each animal, each exhibit, they have a specific regimen that's best for the animal.
Yes.
So it really shows you the synergy, how everything comes together here. But I have to tell you, as we walk by, it's so weird. It's almost like a ghost town, beyond your control. And I'm just wondering, because I know we have a lot of fans of the Toronto Zoo, any indication when these doors get to be opened up again to the public?
Well, as you know, Anne, we're of course going to follow the lead from our partners at the province and
Sure.
the city. But I can tell you, we're getting ready.
Yeah.
We're waiting to get to red. Once we get to red, we're going to need a bit of time
Right.
to get things reset. We haven't had a walk-in guest here since November 23rd. So it's been a while. We had our drive-through up to the
Yes.
period. But we are getting ready. We're starting to get things cleaned up.
Yeah.
And we're really dreaming of a world where hopefully we can get Toronto to the red in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then we can get you back here in late March, early April, because we love sharing our zoo. We miss
Of
our
course. And I often wonder, the animals, I bet you to some extent, they miss the people too, because they're just used to it.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you look at different individuals and different species. The other day when I went by the hyenas, they were like, "Hey, where have you been?"
Yeah.
They were literally chattering us. They've missed our guests tremendously. Same with some of the orangs. Poopy, who's now, I believe, the oldest orangutan in North America. She misses interacting with our visitors.
See?
That's what she's known for her entire 50-plus year lifespan at her
Right.
zoo. She's never been without guests for this long.
Isn't that something? So again, our AKQ this morning, or this afternoon, is what are you looking forward to most in the springtime? And some people have agreed with me, and that is about the lawn getting all green and being able to enjoy that. Ron is saying hello. Also, Janice saying very interesting. Sarah is saying hello. We have Susan. And John Shepard saying the picture is great. Janice from Barrie is saying very interesting. And Penelope Cayley, my sound, it's crackling. They said your mic is crackling a little bit. Is that? I don't know. I'm going to try moving this up here like that. I don't know. We can check that. You could also check the back pocket.
Hold
That'll
my breath a
happen
little.
when we're live. Sometimes that happens, but we're also saying the plants are beautiful. Kathy's saying this is awesome. And Sandra's saying she looks forward to Friday at noon every time, so we do appreciate that. Don't forget to share your love with the hearts and the shares. Make sure you tell your friends about the shows. We continue to grow. And the reality is, without that interaction, it can't grow, because the way the social media platforms are designed, it's about the people, the viewership. So please, if you like what you're seeing and you want us to grow, we're getting better and better with each episode, let us know by showing us some hearts, some comments, sharing it, and also when you watch the replay on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. The button's on the bottom there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And I promise you, this is just the beginning, so it's a lot of cool stuff. Now, look at this. This is a beautiful way as we get close to wrapping up the show. We have the Arctic wolves here. Beautiful creatures. And you have quite a family here. These Arctic wolves, it's a whole family, and you've had a litter just recently. And so tell me a little bit about these. So we have, am I saying it right? Limik? Imic. Oh, I thought it was an L. So Imic, and that's the alpha male.
Yes, and he's, I believe, off to the right here.
Yeah. Look at this, though. Look at the size of some of them here.
Yeah, so we have the alpha male and the alpha female. So we have Imic and Dora. So it's actually Dora's off to the right, and Imic, I think, was off to the left there and just tucked out. And then we have actually 2 cohorts of pups. We have 8 of them from last spring and the others from the previous year.
Right.
And it's just been amazing. You know, one of the things I get to do every day when I'm at the zoo is see these incredible animals. And what we're even getting a glimpse of right now is that pack operating. You can kind of figure out who's the boldest, who's the bravest, the ones further out, maybe the less dominant animals.
Right.
So it's such a fascinating dynamic, and they really are really one of my favorite animals because they're one of these uniquely Canadian ones. They live really high Arctic, and they can be an absolutely massive canine. They can grow, you know, up to 170 pounds.
Sure.
It's a big animal, and they're actually known in the wild to be pretty bold because where they live, they don't see many people.
Well, no kidding.
So they're often curious and will
Yeah.
kind of approach. And you kind of see that here where clearly they're wary and aware,
Sure.
but they're not necessarily all that concerned with us as long as they have that distance.
Sure. And, you know, just the viewing here is amazing. And you talked about the far north, so they obviously adapt to very cold environments. And what's interesting, and it'll be hard to see through this on the iPhone, but the ears are very small on these. So
Yes.
they're smaller than the gray wolf. And that means, you know, less heat loss and less that can be threatened by the cold. It's just smaller features. But man, they are just so beautiful. One of so many exhibits you have here at the zoo, 5,000 animals, and really a unique opportunity. I can't wait when you guys open up the doors again to bring the kids. We love coming here, and I know a lot of families, especially with what's going on, you know, this is a wonderful distraction. You know, so fingers crossed that you'll be able to do that hopefully in the next few weeks. Of course, you'll be all looking at what the federal regulations are and what they're instituting. But we want to thank you so much, Dolph, for your time. So we're going to get set to wrap up. We've got the Arctic wolves in our background here as we celebrate National Plant a Flower Day. We're at the greenhouse. Once these doors open up, that also can be included in part of the tour. Just so we get close to the wrap up here, we want to thank you for joining us on another edition of Here and There. Again, we'll stream live every Friday. We're working on developing a new system so we get that audio as well as the video just perfect, as well as incorporating some graphics. And all of that is going to come in stages here as we continue to grow. So thank you so much for joining us. Next week we have another exciting show. Where will I be, you ask? Well, as always, Here and There. See you next Friday, guys. Thanks for watching.